Chaps, we've got where are we? I've got to read the screen because I've gone brain dead already. We've got Elliot, we've got Lewis, and Lewis, you're mute by the way. And you've got Jamie, or Jamie's iPhone 11 Pro. You guys, you guys contacted us a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Really, because you just wanted to raise awareness by using football in your football team.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's just important for lads to have a release and an escape from everyday sort of troubles or whatever it may be. But yeah, ultimately, it's just about sort of raising awareness with sort of men's mental health and sort of letting that sort of flourish in sort of our football team, really.
Yeah. So I was going to say, is this something? How can I ask you? Has something happened for you to be more aware, or is it just?
I mean, me personally, I've had struggles kind of through different parts of my life, but one thing that was constant for me was sport and playing football, and obviously a team game. I think having sort of been with the lads for a couple of years, you see the people's experiences and sort of seeing it from someone else's point of view, or seeing it as other people are experiencing it themselves. I think I just wanted to sort of put it out there and say, look, this is fine. It's fine to feel the way you do. But I mean, Lewis and Elliot will sort of talk about their personal experiences. But for me, I just saw other lads sort of struggling through certain different things. And I think it's important to make them feel like it's okay to feel the way they do and talk about it and get through it together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you find people approach you more because you're quite open?
I hope they feel they can. I mean, I kind of one of the things that I kind of like to do with, like I say, with the lads at football was just to be there if they wanted a chat, not necessarily sort of ram it down their throats, but just sort of, if they feel they can come and speak to me, because I'm older than the lads, so I didn't want it to be like, from my point of view, I didn't want it to sort of be like I was the authority over them or anything like that, but just someone that they might not necessarily speak to on a regular basis, but someone that they can just go and vent to and talk to. And obviously with you guys, if we can try and get something together where we have sort of you guys as the more experienced, and obviously with the help that maybe be out there, it just gives the sort of an avenue to sort of to venture into and see what's there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what we massively promote. As with mental health in general, there's no one size fits all. But with me, I like to race motorbikes. But I personally believe that a sport isn't a sport unless it involves an engine. Anything else is just stupid. But I don't even like football. I'm not thinking I'll probably turn it off. I like to race motorbikes and whatever else. And for me, I like to go like wild camping. Like the Peak and the Lake District in the snow and whatever else. And
yeah.
And all that kind of stuff, but if that doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that it's right. It's wrong for me. And if it means you guys getting together, kicking a ball about once a week or whatever else, then there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like I'm getting my preachy, so I apologise. It's just we want to support people like you because you raise awareness in your football world way better than we can.
Yeah. I mean, one thing before I let the lads jump in is that I think it's not just about football, or because we, as a lads Sunday side, it's not just about football. It's quite a social thing as well. Yeah. So there'll be nights out, or there'll be sort of something that will. I mean, the lads just come back from sort of the end of the season tour, things like that has been brought together through football, but it's not about football. It then turns into something else. So it's a starting point, but it obviously just develops into sort of friendship groups and different things that probably wouldn't happen without that team being there.
Yeah, no, I'm a strong believer that blokes need to knock around with blokes, and men should be allowed to just be men.
Yeah,
really. And if that's just having a laugh or whatever else, then so be it. But yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. Altogether, feelings maybe it's that once a week structure where they can leave the missus, leave the fella, whatever. I was just trying to be PC, leave whoever's at home and just be one of the lads and just have a laugh, isn't it? But so Elliot, Lewis, I feel like you're
So I'm so I'm the captain and assistant manager for Delepre, and I think exactly that. So you know, football, wherever I've gone, so I've done different placements in different areas, I've kind of gone there silo and not had any friends or been able to integrate. But football's always brought people together and me to be able to meet certain individuals. And I think for me, I'm laughing a little bit around, you know, getting away from the family and stuff. I've got 3 boys, 7, 6, and 17 months. And I think for me, it's some form of escapism equally. But we've got a great camaraderie with the group. And the lads to kind of communicate and talk about, I'd argue somewhat 60% not football, really. You know, anything to kind of, you know, go to the pub, have a catch up before, catch up after. I mean, the football's the icing on the cake. If we're winning, great, fantastic. But there's that network and support, we're only building it. So I think generally, as we come onto the subject, I think for me, it's quite difficult sometimes to talk about my emotions and how I feel unless I'm asked the question.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about really, we've got a great pool of individuals, all from different backgrounds, different places, and there's that network and support, and people can come to individuals. But I think it's really important about the questions you ask. So if someone asks me a question, I'd always be honest, but it's the questions and digging down into what could be and couldn't be going on. So I think whereas Jamie's, I think he's come in last year and been the assistant manager, and he's been very open, and we've been able to talk to him about anything because he's really approachable. But some other lads might not be, but I think it's key to ask the questions. But yeah, football's great in essence to bring people together and communicate. And I think El, you probably agree. I don't, in terms of your experiences as well.
Definitely. I don't know how many other lads or anything like that have had any personal experiences, but obviously, as these two know, my brother took his own life close to a year now. So that was sort of during, I think, right at the start of the season last year when it happened. And just mentioning what these two have just said, it makes me look at things completely different, in all fairness. That I see lads, even especially outside of football, when we do the social events and nights out and stuff like that, I can sort of pay a bit more attention on sort of what they're possibly dealing with. And, you know, if they're being a bit quieter and things like that, I'll suddenly then think, do they need checking in on? Because they're normally sort of, we have got quite an outgoing bunch. I'm sure the other two would agree. And for me, straight away, I start looking at signs where they might not be the normal self, and things like that. And yeah, I think, as they said, it's just a bit of an escape for some people, which is good, but you still also need to deal with everything as well. You shouldn't just look for the escape. You do need to deal with things if you have got things going on. And we've got quite a wide age group, as these two would probably agree. I think some lads are 20, 21, and then going up to sort of 30s range. So, you know, the younger lads you can see coming through, still going through sort of maturing stages and things like that. Might be going through stuff at home, you never know. But then the older lads might not. You know, Lewis said he's not, unless he's asked, might not want to talk about that sort of thing, but need to get everyone feeling comfortable in doing it and knowing where to go and who to talk to, like for yourselves. If they do need to go down that road of speaking to people and dealing with stuff before it gets too late, really.
Yeah. So let me ask you. I'll pick on you, Elliot. So if you see someone's just, I don't know, they're not playing up to spec. I don't know what your terminology is, or something's just a bit wonky with them. How would you approach it? Because that's something I do see with, I know if I'm racing motorbikes or whatever else, is everyone's just like, oh, I don't know what's going on with that bloke over there, and like he's behind, blah 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 blah, and then we kind of just not hate them, but it's just like, oh, they're just shit. But we don't actually do anything. Well, we do now because obviously I run a charity. But how do you deal with that?
Well, it's still quite a new thing. I mean, especially for me now, still. I mean, there's someone that will bring up with the two lads later on at a later date soon, but you know, straight away in not performance wise, but personality wise, he's just changed massively in the last sort of few months since we saw him at the end of last season compared to now. Something's obviously going on within over the sort of summer period, because the way we're seeing them now is just completely different to what we saw a few months ago. So it's a case of just working out the best way to deal with it. He is a younger lad, so you don't want to, put too much pressure on him or force anything on him, and sort of scare him off, as some people might say.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, we're not too sure at the moment the best way to deal with it. We do want to deal with it, definitely, before anything, gets any worse. But honest answer, we're not too sure at the moment, but it's something that needs to be discussed so we can handle it in the best way possible, really.
So I think it's circumstantial, it depends, but we're quite good.
Yeah,
I mean,
correct,
our roles and responsibilities, we've got a management chat and we're quite good at talking about people. I mean, positively and just generally about performance and stuff, but that then links into welfare quite a lot, really. Or he was a bit quiet today, or what happened to him, and we kind of come with a collective strategy to say, right, you have a little chat with him, see what's going on, and we kind of put it back to the group to say, well, how would you deal with it? So in essence, we're all trying to be managers, or players, but we've got this collective group to support each other. But we're always quite aware. I'd say Elliot and Jamie quite aware of our players as much as we can be, because it's difficult sometimes. There is signals that you just can't see, and that's evident through some experiences that we've all faced. So again, Jamie mentioned in the call to be able to have a platform and a group to be able to help deal with that. And even for the lads, I think it'd be great thinking about it now. Look, we've linked up with MANUP and they offer this service, and anyone wants to talk, because sometimes you don't want to talk to your peers, you don't want to talk to your managers. There's another service that can do it. So yeah, it's interesting. It's circumstantial, but there is some awareness of, like Ellie mentioned, some individuals that we just try and put a plan that we best think can put together. Now with support professionally, we might be able to ask different questions or be able to do it in a different way to try and encourage conversation and support. So
I applaud you. Sorry, Jamie, I'll let you speak in a minute. 1 second, mate. So I think both of you have hit a very, very valid point. It depends on the circumstances. And it depends on the person, doesn't it? And I've said, the trouble is with me, I do so many videos, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Obviously, people have never seen this, but one of the things is, I know, like I'm a high functioning borderline personality disorder. Unless you really knew me, you probably would never know. I was like the best at this, I was the best at that, even when I was massively depressed. You get what I mean? And like my chair trustee Steve, and even my wife, is just like, Dan, you're being a prick, mate. Like, go and do something. Go do wild camping. Go and do some, just go get off your arse and do something. Get out of the house, get out of the office, go to. Obviously, they wouldn't say that to somebody else. And if somebody who didn't know me quite deep, if that, I don't know, you know what I mean? If they didn't know me that well, I'd be like, fuck you. Who do you think you're talking to? So it really is down to the circumstances, isn't it? And I think the key is sometimes you just got to wait it out and just work out that plan.
Yeah. I mean, for me,
agreed.
I've had some experiences where, like, I wasn't in a group where it was football, and I probably felt more alone then than when then you got people around you, and I found it easier to talk to people that I didn't really know, because I was worried about being judged a lot of the time. So my problems, I was not necessarily embarrassed to have them, but it was a case of like, I don't want people to think any less of me. So speaking to people that you may be, I mean, it's different in each scenario. Like in a work scenario, you have your work colleagues, you have your sort of football colleagues, but certain scenarios you can sort of not be someone else, but you don't have to worry about how you're going to be perceived. And for me, like I said, I like, you always sort of go back to your home life. I confide in my wife, and we have that kind of thing you can cover. But sometimes you just want to talk about something else to ease that pressure, because I think a lot of it is pressure building up, and then it's that snap, that point where it's a trigger, and you sort of lose control of how you're feeling. But yeah, I mean, I sort of, not to waffle, but I think the football side of it is secondary to obviously everyday problems that people are having. But one good thing with Delepre, I think, is that we're just trying to sort of, I mean, like I say, we're on the group chats, we're just trying to sort of help anyone that needs it, and sometimes they don't know they need it, and we're just trying to be there the best we can for the lads. But let's say with you you guys may potentially on board, I think it's just something we can sort of point them in the right direction of chatting to you guys and sort of discussing problems if they want to discuss it with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you I've forgotten how to communicate today. Do you ever get like the missus or the partner saying, "Can you sort him out?"
What, as in the football?
Yeah, as in people on your and you take, because I've heard that before. More so in the boxing world and the gym world. We work with a few like power lifters, these like competitive power lifters. Their arms are just crazy. But they've said actually there's a lot of the time when the missus is just like, I've no idea what's wrong with him. Can you sort him out? And they'll speak to the coach, grass him up.
I suppose we get. I mean, there's a few of the girlfriends comes to the football, don't they? And they have their own chats, and then sometimes we find out information on the lads through girlfriends have spoke to girlfriends, and then it comes back through filters another way. So, yeah, I mean, I think again, we're not sort of with like we sort of encourage anyone to sort of bring the information forward. It's not a case where it's got to be that person, and if we can help, like I say, if we can find out a way of helping someone,
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
But I think say the girls often chat. I mean, probably more than we do, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's also something quite crucial, isn't it? It's just being, and this is something that I don't want to start bitching and ranting, so I apologise. I think when people, I've said it before, when there's a conversation about mental health or somebody's just having some sort of life wobble, we automatically want to try and fix it. And actually, and that's another skill, is actually sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it sounds like you guys have actually nailed it. So well done to you. Like, I don't know, like someone might speak to Elliot and Elliot might be like, so I don't put words in your mouth. Elliot might be like, I'm not the right person to deal with this. Lewis, Lewis, your name's just behind the camera, so I'm like trying not to be rude. I've got to remember that I see him. So it's just like, if Elliot's just like, I'm not the right person to deal with this. Like saying, look, Lewis, can you step in? I think that's a skill. I think we're forgetting.
Yeah,
as human, not just you guys. Maybe I'm just. My wife had a go at me, but the other day she was like, "I just wanted to bloody listen. You run a mental health charity. Don't try and fix it." And we can all fall foul of it.
Yeah, I think
it's just
go on.
Sorry, Lee. No, go on. You go.
No, I just think you're right. Yeah, we can jump to solution mode quite quickly. So just we see a problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution. But you're right, to be able to step back and voice a concern of someone else's, like I go back to the group. So there's a problem that happens, we voice it within the group. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? This is not just about player welfare. This is just general. There's a consensus that we can come to a better conclusion with the support of others, their viewpoint. But yeah, sometimes you can just go straight to solution mode, can't you? Fix it. And actually sometimes you make it worse. So it's taking a step back. I think that's a good approach, taking a step back, being logical and including some key stakeholders, i.e. the management group or the team. So yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think my other point on this, so I don't want to make it the Dan show, is learn when to shut up as well. I think, and yeah, again, we can all fall foul of that one. I think more so with blokes. If a bloke tells you that they've got some sort of life wobble, it doesn't always need to be mental health. It's just something's a bit crap in their life. Just listen and shut up.
Yeah.
And I think that's another skill what we're sadly quite losing. I think social media is just like speak to people, but we're not promoting people to, or just shut up. Just listen to them. Don't
active listening. Yeah.
So that there we go. So how are you guys protecting yourselves? And let me give context on that one. I'm in regular therapy because of MANUP. Because I just realised I'm just consuming so much stuff, and then after a while, it's just like I'm in a real bad situation. Like literally, I don't know where I'm going. My brain's ruined. So I know having therapy just to offload. But how?
So my outlet's always been sport. So football is an outlet. Been able to articulate my issues or problems with someone else. So be able to talk to somebody generally, lend an ear, just offload. Because it can become quite stressful. I mean, day-to-day life can be stressful, work, kids, everything, responsibilities and stuff as well. So I think I have outlets in individuals. Yeah. But equally, one of my biggest outlets is escapism through sport, really, through football. getting onto the pitch and just literally thinking about nothing but trying to put that ball in the net is actually quite therapeutic. So that's probably where I get my outlets from. But equally at work, we have services to support mental health. They kind of come in and say, we've got this, but I've never used it. I personally think potentially I should be using more support. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Try and work for your problems. But in times in my life when I've looked back and think, wow, that's a big problem. How did I overcome it? I didn't think I was going to do it. At that time, I should have probably engaged, but I didn't know how to. So
that's interesting. What about you, Elliot? Same question. How do you?
Different ways, yeah. So football's definitely up there. Always look forward to that during the week. Obviously, we train and play towards the end of the week, which is quite good, I think, to be fair. Because then it helps you just offload from obviously the things that have gone on through the week. I do one counselling session every month, but that only kick-started obviously when things happened with my brother last year. It was just recommended to me for quite a few people. So there's some days when I go, it's not that useful, it's not that helpful, don't get much from it. But then there's sometimes I'm like, shit, I really needed that. It's only like 45 minutes to an hour at a time. You just literally just sit, and then the person you do it with just sits and like you said, they just listen. So you sort of offload everything, and then you come out and feel a lot better. But I think everyone's got their own ways of how they'll do it. Some lads probably won't know how to do it yet, which is obviously a key thing. But yeah, for me, it's those two really, football and then just chatting to someone that I don't know. I know him a bit more obviously now, but for me, a stranger is a lot easier to just offload and get things off that you need to, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good answer. And I think, especially men and therapy, I think you just being open about talking about having, even if it's monthly therapy, is worth its weight in gold, because it's such a taboo thing. Like blokes don't have therapy. Do you know what I mean? Even me, it was like 6 months before I even mentioned it on MANUP. Not that I needed to. I tried to have some sort of private life. But even with that, I've had somebody before a couple of weeks ago. They're like, "But you run a men's mental health charity. Why do you need therapy?" Like it's just like you're missing the point, mate. And
definitely.
And that. So, Jamie, same question.
I mean, for me, when probably I was at my sort of darkest moments, I probably reached out to my father. I probably sort of spoke to him, and he sort of gave me a bit of guidance as much as he could. But then it was kind of he's recommended that we sort of go to sort of get a therapy sort of session together, and I sort of done that for a few months. And to be honest, I didn't find that it helped me very much. I kind of found that I was almost like acting in front of the in the sessions. I was like trying to be someone else, and I wasn't actually being real. My sort of biggest sort of ease of when I feel sort of low is routine. I need to get in a routine. I think that for me is my biggest help. Is I'm really boring in the sense that I will do the same thing. I'll eat the same food. I'll do the same thing. But I find if I'm in a routine, I function so much better than when I'm sort of, doing random stuff, and I kind of lose my way a little bit. And I think that's where, obviously I still sort of probably still speak to my father if I've got any issues, and obviously my wife and whatnot. But generally for me, if I can get myself back into a routine, I can feel myself turning that corner a bit better.
No, absolutely. I'll totally hear you on that one. For me, routine is absolutely key. It just goes to pot if I don't have that routine, and that absolutely drives me nuts. So just before we draw to a close, there's that little cue there of we're calling it a day. But how would people be able to follow your team or whatever else, or even if they wanted to get involved, plug it. There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
Go on, Elliot. You're the man.
Social media. So Instagram's our main social media outlet at the moment. It does link to Facebook, but Instagram is definitely our main sort of focus for social media. Trying to get more involved in it, so more posts. I want to try and do sort of 2 or 3 posts every week. Throughout the summer, we were posting about open training sessions for new lads that can just come down, didn't want to put it down as some teams were as like a trial. Obviously, some people that, you know, lack confidence and things like that might shy away from that. So we just labelled it. I spoke to Ben about this. Just labelled it as an open training session, with dates and times, etc., and things like that for people to come down. I've had a couple of messages here and there about people just inquiring. I've had people bringing their mates down and all the rest of it. So it seems to be working, but yeah, we're still quite new to it, really. So it's getting in the hang of it, how to operate it best and things like that. But yeah, Instagram's definitely the way to get involved with it.
So what's that? Was it at Delepre? Or is it at?
It's just at Delepre United, yeah.
At Delepre United, yeah. So look, yeah, we're not a bad bunch. Come down and share your experiences. We try to play football. Try is the word. Jamie's going to laugh now. So yeah, look, you know, we're here. We're open. We have a laugh. We don't take it too seriously. So yeah, everyone's welcome, really. I think, you know, if you're interested, just drop us a message at what Elliot said, and you know, even if it's not just football, there's other things that within the club. We're trying to build the club, so secretarial roles, equipment roles, looking at different angles, sponsorship. How do we grow it? So if it's not just a football, if you want to be included with anyone in terms of getting out of the house, come join Delepre.
Cool, good stuff. That was a good call, my friends. Let me just hit that record button 1 second.